And today I have the privilege of interviewing Scott Desgrosseilliers, CEO of Wicked Reports, where they're helping marketers make data driven decisions. So, we're going to have a marketing attribution conversation. And I think this is really interesting because it's really hard for marketers. I think they sort of hit a wall at some point when it comes to their skill set, their capability in their role, the knowledge that's available to them out there and their ability to execute. So I think that would be a good place for us to start our conversation. About B2C marketing attribution is uh, just the role that marketers the seat they're sitting in, and the problem set that they have just at the beginning of the day.
Sure. Well, I mean, marketing attribution in its simplest form is trying to create an easy to understand scoreboard so that you have not just insight, but you have action.
Mhm.
And I had this crazy idea, which has now been realized in our platform, but it could be used, by others and any other platform, which is, can I distill all this data down to one word of advice?
Mhm.
Scale, chill, or kill. Scale meaning do more of it at a higher budget. Chill meaning you can keep spending at the same amount. Kill meaning you better diagnose and fix things, or else you'll have to kill the ad spend and try something else. Because the marketers, that when they start their day, they're faced with proving the value of what they've done, can be quite murky,
Mhm.
because the tools they're using to market aren't attribution first. They're, for whatever the distribution channels first.
Yeah.
And so if you try to use those tools to properly assess how you're doing and spend just based on the results you get from Facebook Ad Manager or Google or any other platform, you're going to run out of money most likely, because if you add up how much money in sales it thinks you're doing, it doesn't match what you're actually doing usually.
Yeah. What I have a colleague who works with a lot of marketing directors in his coaching group, and he has found that in all of his number of people he's worked with and years of working with them, that most marketing teams are about four people. They're only about four people big. Um, and so I think when you have a small marketing team with all hands on deck, right, and your leader, whether it's the VP or director, is having to still wear multiple hats in terms of skills. I think that can be part of the problem because you're coming to the table first with your ability and your skill set and your experience up to that point and your use of these different tools. But sometimes you may have to be in all of these platforms at the same time, managing Google or managing Meta or any other paid thing that you're doing, plus all your other channels. And do you see that as being part of this problem that you're talking about, not being attribution first, but being channel first? That they're spread too thin, or they're just wearing too many hats.
I think that's definitely an issue, because they're
Mhm.
smart people, but there's a lot of work that goes into just getting the marketing strategy right and then
Yes.
implementing it, and then doing conversion rate optimization or iterating on your creatives. Or there's so
Mhm.
much that happens after you do all the effort to launch a campaign. Then there's so much work still to be done, that having the data expertise is one thing and having the time to apply that expertise is another. And then when you have all these conflicting sources of truth, you've got then you're like, oh man, I only have so much time to worry about this problem. when
Yeah.
am I going to get the answers I
Yeah.
need? And
Yeah.
so we had to and then you're reporting good results, and then the top line isn't revenue isn't moving, or your blended
Mhm.
return on ad spend isn't improving. And then you dig in, and you know Meta in particular, very good at charging you to acquire customers you already have.
Huh.
Like their AI,
Yeah.
they turn these things into retargeting.
Yeah.
And so the way to fix that, but if you don't know how to fix it or how to do it, and it's not, it involves tech. There's just challenges there that you think you've done all the right things, and then the algorithm's punishing you,
Right.
and that's a tough, painful lesson to learn that a lot of people have to learn, unfortunately.
Yeah. So do you think that it's wise to have maybe multiple people, someone per domain, like someone just focused on Google Ads, someone just focused on Meta, so that at least that the expertise stays inside that domain before we even get to attribution, just in terms of running strategy.
Yes, I think social ads have one type of strategy and search have a different. And then
Yeah,
video would be a third, actually, although video might bleed into social. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, there's a lot in there. You go in there, this as someone who is in a very complicated field related to marketing
yeah,
technology, the Google in particular, there's a lot in there that your settings are wrong and you're spending money, you're
yeah.
wasting it. So it's, I think,
Yeah, well, for these small teams, they don't have the number of people to put in those seats. A lot of times they will, outsource it to an agency. What are your thoughts around how that dynamic works, as we're
I
moving
think
towards this
agencies,
conversation?
yeah, I think agencies are a great decision as long provided you get aligned, very tightly aligned on success.
Mhm,
Because related to, I mean, we see behind the scenes of three, 400 agencies now, and th- they're very good. They work hard, but at the same time, where things go sideways and brands jump is not being aligned. And
mhm,
so that alignment is very important. Yeah, you're hiring the agency, it's to grow. And then where we support that is that alignment, like you think you're doing good and you're reporting good return on ad spend, and it's just on your meta retargeting. And you're like, well, then the brand's like, I need net new customers. I
yeah,
don't need you to reacquire the ones I've already got. Granted, sometimes those retargeting ads are the reason you reacquired the second purchase. So that's not that you shouldn't do retargeting, but
mhm,
you need the majority of your budget on new. And then that unpacks a whole mess that you got to get aligned with the brand on what's the new customer acquisition cost really, what products work for the first purchase, that first purchase, is that AOV enough to offset what the CAC is for new, or do we have
mhm,
to take a second purchase approach? Can you do that? There's a
mhm.
lot to get aligned with that can happen, but without it, you got to sleep with one eye open if you're the agency.
Yeah, for sure. How often do you find that, with your experience with agencies, that they are taking this attribution first mentality?
It's increasingly become common as a differentiator because the brands, the our wheelhouse ICP, we support, we've got $1 billion brands, we got brands a million, 1 to 3 million, but our wheelhouse is ecom 3 to 60 million.
Yep,
Shopify, WooCommerce,
yep,
with their own API. And when what we see there, the agencies targeting those is that attribution be a differentiator, because if they come in focused on we're going to measure and grow new customer acquisition with
mhm,
it by being able to measure accurately, signal the platforms accurately, and then give you decisive action, it's more compelling than the usual. Because the agencies, you got to differentiate somehow, and that's a differentiator that we're going to focus on new customer acquisition and prove it
yeah.
is refreshing for the brand, so it helps them.
Okay. I mean, I like kind of, different thinking models, and I would sort of attribute this in that way, sort of where, you're starting with attribution first. Obviously, you're a little bit biased because you're coming from an attribution platform, but
Mhm.
and to me, being sort of outside this world, it does make a lot of sense to start kind of begin with the end in mind, right? Um, as you're approaching new companies and talking with brands, we'll just stick on brands, because
Yeah.
agencies I think can be a little different thing. Um, where do you start with them? I mean, do they have, or do they have just like a complete mess? And they're like, hey, we're chasing our tail here. We don't know, what's our strategy and what is our actual data. We don't even know where the data is coming from. I mean, where do you usually find marketers?
Yeah, so we always have started from first party data conversions, which they weren't called that back then. I would say,
Okay.
hey, we'll use your real sales to
Yeah.
prove that you should do something. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And so
Yeah.
we start with, we wire in their sales and then their CRM data. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, that's the conversion source of truth. So we only want to report conversions we can tie back to your actual data.
Yeah.
The second thing is then the biggest challenge of these brands is growing more new customers. Well, that's cold traffic. Top of the funnel is a lot of that work. And so we want all your first party data so that when we're clicking and seeing people appear in the data, we're not, that's when we know they're no longer cold. They've
Mhm.
raised in their hand and said, yeah, I'll take all your 85 emails, your retargeting,
Yeah.
or buy. So that's one line we put where they can't be considered cold traffic once they appear in the data. So we take those
Okay.
timestamps and use that as the border, if you will, from cold to
Okay.
warm, hot. The other thing is that, yeah, they've been burned by attribution, trying to find the perfect attribution model. And
Mhm.
what came to me, only recently, was to hammer home the point that the attribution model is like a bunch of tools, and you either you need to hammer something, you need to screw it in, you need to saw it. Attribution should measure certain. It's a signaling tool to give you direction on profitably spending your money. It's
Mhm.
not to try to perfectly attribute every single touch point and share all the revenue. That those don't work. They work mathematically. They just don't
Mhm.
grow brands. So
Yeah.
we have different models, but we have people pick. So starting with these brands, we say, okay, let's say you have 3 meta campaigns. What's your number one intention of this campaign? Could be attract cold traffic, could be new customers, could be I don't care, just get me more, just make it profitable ad spend, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But based on those, we hide the complexity, but that tells us what scoreboard to use and how to keep score so that you get the right signal to do more, to scale, kill, or chill.
Yeah.
And that was a eureka moment that made it more accessible for these brands. They come in, they're not thinking like that because, they haven't had to do this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Because before we were like everyone else. Everyone has grids of data and says their grid's better than the other grid. And
Uh-huh.
then everyone's got attribution models. Oh, look how we can do these models and those models.
Uh-huh.
We were the same way. And they were like, we got to activate this value to the brand or the agency that they actually are making decisions. And until that happens, we haven't done our job. So how do we, instead of them having to become an attribution model expert, they are marketing strategy experts. So just pick what your
Yes.
strategy was, and then we'll take care of the measurement that way. And then tell us your brand's KPI, because based on what you pick, we know your North Star. Out of the 200 data columns we have with trends, it could drown
Mhm.
you. Instead, when you say new customer acquisition, we know, hey, that means new customer acquisition cost is the number one thing that matters. And then all
Uh-huh.
these top of funnel measures leading there with the conversion rates that matter. And anything to do with repeat, we can take off the table, don't even look at it. And
Yeah.
then that really simplifies the view of what you got to look at, which then makes it less complex, so then allows you to get insight a little easier, we think.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're saying give me your strategy and we'll attribute success or lack thereof, but show you what that looks like, and that will inform your strategy, because then it keeps them in the driver's seat as a strategist or the lead marketer to continue driving what they know or think is best for the brand based on where they're at with their business metrics, and you're just there to support that particular strategy. I like that because it seems to me, and again, I'm not fully in this world, but it seems to me that an attribution platform could pretty easily push their methodology up the chain into strategy to say, well, here's how you should do it. Do you see that? Have you seen that with any other platforms or competitors?
Yeah, and I mean, we used to do that too. We'd be like, "Yeah, here's how you measure it," without asking them. With
Yeah.
it, we would just imply that in the training, but then when
Yeah.
they were in there, who knows what model they were looking at,
Yeah.
and or we could have always said, "Oh, if you would have used this model, we could have told you this," and we're like, "That's not doing a good enough job.
Uh-huh.
We can't force everyone to take this, months long training course or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it was shorter than that, but still. So we had to, just had to we had to
Yeah.
support the strategy, just like you said. And, because then also when inevitably, I mean, when you're testing marketing, there's always usually some optimization or you might have to diagnose and improve something. Well,
Hmm.
that depends on what you were trying to do. Here's an easy example. Like if you're trying to fix a retargeting campaign because it's not converting well enough, you should only know that because other retargeting campaigns have converted better. You got to compare like against like.
Yeah.
And then when you're looking for improvement, you look at other campaigns that were trying to do the same thing and did it better for your inspiration on how to fix
Hmm.
it.
Uh-huh.
Versus if you just have one model, you don't have that. You're trying to solve everyone's problems with one silver bullet, and that you really need like, 6 bullets.
Yeah, that's great, and it really demonstrates the alignment, sort of philosophy there too. Um, I heard this a long time, probably 10 years ago. I went to a marketing panel with a bunch of CMOs talking to agencies, and the big kind of thing that they said overarching was, what they wanted from agencies is for them to sort of jump on the train while it's moving. You know, if you're going to be an agency, work with us. We want you to come on and add value. But the best way you can do that is to align with our strategy. You know, that's probably putting words in their mouth, but you know, to our conversation, it's align with what we're doing. Help us accomplish it now, instead of trying to force us into your box of how you
Mhm.
think and how you operate. And that can be really difficult, I think, for SaaS, or for, you know, like a platform like you have, or for even for a service type of agency, servicing an account, because it's hard to create a business model around, you know, profitable business model around just chasing client needs. Um, but there is some kind of happy medium in there where the framework and how you think, and we're going to get to that now, the five forces. This framework and how you approach things has merit and value, and based on you know, really real world experience that's valuable to these marketers. But at first, you have to kind of come in almost like a counselor, come in and say, okay, tell me what your problems are. Let's meet you where you're at. And now that we've been able to show you how it works at a surface level, probably, and that might be right away, it might take some time. That fit is there, and quite frankly, the trust is there. Now you can start to apply this framework,
Mhm.
and your business model then takes more shape. Um, so I don't know. That's does a lot more, but that's what I've found in the agency world is you either want to fit them in your box, or you want to teach them something that you know, but you're both losing in that agreement. So you know, to that point of alignment, or your framework, you have this thing called the five forces, and you mentioned it was matching measurement with marketing. I think that's super interesting. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the idea is how can we apply a measurement strategy to your marketing strategy?
Hmm.
Because there is a measurement strategy happening, or your measurement strategy is often, I don't have time for one, or just give me an attribution model that's going to measure everything. Great. And we actually found, you know what, the people having success with us use multiple models. But
Hmm.
then I was like, and then we started dabbling with AI, and we didn't, then with the chatbot, it's like, well, if you ask the chatbot the wrong things, it's going to give you the wrong answers back. And
Hmm.
then I was like, wait a minute,
Funny how that works.
then I was like, geez, and they're using the wrong attribution model, they're getting the wrong answers. Now what do
Yeah.
I do? So, I had we had this idea of the wicked playbook, but then it didn't quite go far enough and it wasn't concise enough. And so then I hit upon training our AI up along with a couple others on the team to be like, how can we automatically analyze with the right attribution everything and give them precise direction, scale, chill, or kill, no matter what. And that led us on a 9-month odyssey to get it where it was. In the first 2 months, we got 80% done, but then all the little quirks of AI took a long time to get where it wouldn't freestyle and try to be smarter than it was,
Yeah.
or make stuff up, or just not listen and just try. It always tries to like, oh, and look at how much I can impress you. It's the only way to like describe it. We get to work with it
Yeah.
quite a bit. It's a great tool, but it was just a tool. So back to the framework. So what I ended up training it on was this idea of start with the five forces, the first one being intention. What are you trying to do with this marketing campaign? Could be acquire new customers, attract cold traffic that later converts, generate new leads. We get a list of them. But that tells us what attribution model to use, what attribution points to look at, what touch points to look at, and which ones to ignore, and
Okay.
what our North Star is for that campaign. New customer acquisition is a common pain point. So I like to use that as let's say it's new customer acquisition point. So your
Hmm.
North Star is new customer acquisition costs.
Yep.
It also means we're only going to track all the customer journeys related to people that end up with a first purchase or
Hmm.
don't. And we're going to ignore all the existing customer
Yeah.
behavior, journeys, purchases for the purposes of this campaign's
Hmm.
North Star goal. Now, so that simplified things a lot. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
the second force is expectation. So this is defining a scale, chill, kill zone before you're even going to launch the campaign. Or if you've already launched it, we're going to go back in time and, at least figure it out.
Yeah.
This came from my experience as a day trader back in the late 90s. You wanted to know when you were going to buy or sell before you made the trade to get into it to begin with,
Hmm.
because otherwise you're reacting emotionally. It also would frustrate me if people would have, we get a lot of these calls with customers, I mean, a couple hundred at this point, uh, calls personally, where if you set a goal and it was one number, then you're either above it or below it. And then you have to think and go look at the data. Like, let's say you're trying to acquire customers at $100. It's 120. Uh-oh, does that mean I'm going to go broke and I got to turn it off? Or is the trend in my direction? Or is this just a 1-day blip?
Yeah.
There's all these things you got to think about. And same thing if it's below the number, but it's never just you can never just chill out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create an area you could chill out, because I'm looking at all this data. You don't need to spend time analyzing every single thing. Hopefully, you
Yeah.
just do the pain points or the happy things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so chill was like a very intentional name to create
Yeah.
a range, which meant in this range, I can spend the same amount of money and I don't have to deal with this if I have 7 other things to do, which you'll likely do. So that
Yes.
was key to create these scale, chill, kill zones. We have simple math behind them. It's not complicated, but it's basically scale would mean, oh my God, I have to spend more. This is amazing. And chill's like, I can spend the same. And kill is, I have to diagnose and improve what's going on. Basically how that sets up.
So then you could end up, I mean, then it seems like the advice would be to identify which ones those are, and then spend your time on the kill piece
Yep.
and figure out, right, that you spend a lot of your time because you're learning from those.
Yep. And then we have a learning phase, which is when you first launch something, if it hasn't run long enough to be acted on, then
Mhm.
it's bucketed in learning. And then we give talk tracks to explain to the budget holder, well, you're doing new customer acquisition. It's been 4 days. Don't jump the gun and kill it because it's not making you rich yet.
Yeah.
People still need to hear that. Uh, so then the third force is action, which is
Yep.
pretty straightforward. You'd launch the campaign, or if you've already launched it and it's in the kill zone, you'd have a decision log at this point of all the possible things that you could do to fix it. And then you make a decision based on, because sometimes they could conflict, sometimes they're bigger or lower impact, but you make decisions that you're either going to act to fix the things,
Mhm.
or your decision is no decision, I'm going to let it ride. Because it's good to, sometimes you don't have the time or you just don't do it for all
Yeah.
sorts of reasons. And you want to log that to see, if it keeps coming up as a kill, you're like, man, I really need to deal with this. So it's like a log of your inaction, which
Yeah.
isn't always fun to face, but it's helpful.
So are the kill, scale, chill zones, are those part of the platform actually, or is it just,
Yep.
okay, cool. Well, I wanna look at that here soon.
Yeah, so you'll actually go in and set the chill zones, because then the scales
Yeah.
on the end, and you go in and set them for each intention, and then you can also set them per channel if they're different. Sometimes they
Oh,
will be.
that's cool. I love that.
And
Alright,
then
so you've got you said, I think the first one was North Star?
yeah, intention, which you'll set your
Intention,
it'll give
intention,
us star.
and then you had expectation and action.
The fourth is outcome, where you're gonna in the agreed upon attribution tool, ideally Wicked Reports, but wherever, could be
Yeah.
elsewhere. You're gonna take the measurement of the North Star, place it in the scale, chill, kill zone to determine, is it a scale, chill, or kill? So that one's pretty straightforward as long as you were aligned on how you're gonna measure it. That
Yeah.
can be a doozy if you're using Google Analytics 4 and you don't have access to some of these things, and you gotta triangulate somehow what's gonna be your proxy for what
Yeah.
you were trying to do. And if that's the case, you just get to agree on the proxy. The reason why the outcome piece is important, though, is that you've agreed on where you're going to measure it, because
Mhm.
you got Google Analytics 4, you got your Shopify or WooCommerce results, you got the platform results, you got your SMS and email results. Everyone's going to be prowling around bringing up potential issues. But if you say, no, the outcome is measured here, and that's what we go by, that can hopefully lower some of that noise within the team. So then the fifth force is optimization. That's when, if you have something in the kill, you can diagnose and improve it. We like to bucket it down. Again, we're always trying to shrink focus down to what truly matters and what the big
Yeah.
leverage points. So we out of all the data points, we're like, do you have a traffic issue? Is it a creative and offer issue? Is it a
Mhm.
budget issue? customer quality, or product. It's always one of those five things. And then there's different metrics you look at based on, so it's like, and you have your North Star, then you have these like other stars that orient you within those strategic areas that still shrink the amount of data points down to like 3 to 5 that
Uh-huh.
you then are trying to improve. Common one would be conversion rate. But our difference is like if you're new customers, it's the new conversion to new customers, which is
Yeah.
lower than your overall, unfortunately, sometimes alarmingly low. And then that's the work, you
Yeah.
know?
The thing I really like about this as you're explaining it is, um, you are giving the marketers a tool to utilize for attributing marketing, which is that's ultimately what they need is utility. But you're giving them a framework of how to think in a direction, a path. It's like guidelines, um, to help them utilize the tool, but get the most out of their marketing as they're utilizing the tool. And I love that because it kind of goes back to where we started, where a lot of marketers are lost. I think, you know, with lots of tools, there's tools that can do more things than they can imagine, to do, but they can't get the most out of those tools because they're not really sure what path they're on. Even,
Mm.
I mean, they have a sense of they have a good idea of their strategy, but the execution of that strategy, I think, can fall apart pretty quickly once you get to um, the tools and the analytics. So I love that the framework is built in to the actual platform because it honestly, from your standpoint, your business model is very sticky because if once someone starts using it and they get used to this way of operating where they're thinking in these terms, these zones. Um, Yes, they could use a different tool and continue that thinking, but it wouldn't be built in like it is here. I think there's huge value to that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, I found that sometimes I've made that mistake as a CEO. You buy a tool, but you really have a process problem.
Yes.
And you think the tool is going to solve it, but it's just going to make it, you're going to be more ridiculous that, then you still got to do the work of the process. So with people in measurement strategy, it was like they need a measurement strategy. And I was like, well, let's just give them the one we know. We know how to do this. Let's just
Mhm.
give it to them. And then they don't need to think about it. And you can change your mind on the fly. Just pick a different strategy and then you'll see, and then you hit a button and then the AI will analyze it according to that strategy. So it's not, you're not stuck there. You can change your mind, infinity really, if you want.
I
That
think that's
probably indicated
amazing.
another issue though.
Yeah, it's great flexibility though for a wide variety of marketers, however they're coming to it. So now I pulled this up. This is just a web page, looking at I got the right web page, right?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, Tell me where to go. Like, what do you want to show people about the tool? And obviously, they could contact you to get a demo of it. But
Well,
what should I
to
show them?
show all this like five forces stuff, it'd probably be ideal if I shared actually, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure,
A live account here. Let me show you.
yeah, perfect. That'd be awesome.
Hold on. When I do screen or presentation, I'll just do my whole tab. Entire screen, be easiest. Okay, so let me get over here. You see me all right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So this is the end result of all the, getting rid of all the attribution, just getting to, this is a live advertiser, scale, chill, kill, or learn. We bucket it all. So there's complete clarity as to what the framework says you should do.
that's awesome.
And then when you say, oh, okay, I want to just see like the kill zones, as you mentioned, you
Hmm.
click the kill, and then we get in there and it'll show the kill and it'll summarize it. All right, immediately reduce the budget and a thorough optimization of creative and elements. And you're like, wait a minute, ROAS has to get above 150 within the next performance period. You're like, well, wait a minute, I don't know if I agree with that. You can click and we'll actually give the evidence behind it. It's not a black box. We'll tell you exactly why.
Hmm.
Well, your ad spend, the conversion rate is a very low 0.2. Your ROAS is below a minimum. This one's just, they actually do quite well with this, but this one, your AOV has decreased. The conversion rate of new visits is 0.6 and it's declining. So when
Yeah.
something's low, but it's on the positive, this will tune and tell you, hey, maybe you can hang in there. But this
Hmm.
one's like, it's low and it's a negative trend. This is a dog,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately. And then vice versa. Let's not just pile on those. Let's see where they can scale. Okay, so here's one. Increase your budget by 15 to 20%.
Okay.
High repeat customer growth, increasing ROAS. So this is a good one.
Yeah, this is
Everyone's
awesome.
so it gets right down to brass tacks. This
Yeah,
is the
you
whole point of
it's like
attribution.
you're putting the, control, much back in the strategic marketer's hands because they know what they wanna do, and now you've given them a tool to help them, guide them, direct them, and then, give them, real-time feedback on what they were doing so they can continue doing it, and they're much closer with this to achieving what they set out to do, or at least knowing why it didn't work so they can, adjust their strategy than all the hours and time spent behind,
Yeah.
all of this that
Slicing
is.
and dicing all the grids. You would
Yeah.
then have to hopefully pick this out, then determine what it meant, then decide if you're going to act. And so we
Mhm.
got you all the way to just decide and act.
Mhm.
And so this all is driven. Here are these intentions right here, and then the North Star metric. And then you go in and you set your chill zone, just like we talked about. So this
Mhm.
one, at the top of the funnel, they can do 1.8 to 2.2. So it means if they do cold traffic, we're going to measure by first click for this particular intention. And we're
Mhm.
going to measure for 30-day period. It means all kinds of things. It means like, here's the time frame we're going to use. Here's the attribution going to use. Here's a segment we're going to track. And here's the target we're going to do. All things you got to do in your head if you're looking at a grid of data. So, and all things that we used to ask our customers to be able to do that. And I was like, geez, why are people frustrated? And it's like, it's too much to, unless you're going to be the dedicated data person,
Yeah.
which we do have those brands and people that spend like a lot of time in here and love doing that, which
Yeah.
I do. I had built it for myself and I was like, well, when are we going to scale? We need to meet marketers where they're at. So that's how we came across this.
Yeah, I love that. It's great because you've built it around making informed decisions, kind of ironically where we started, right? Um, so I love the platform. I think this is where we are currently, and new progressive iterations of this as we move forward with AI um and sort of aligning the human with the intelligence of your data. Um, it seems very much current and forward progressing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because our next phase is to, analyze creatives,
Hmm.
why they're working or not. That'll be Q4 most likely.
Yeah.
And then, but just scale this. This is, and then we didn't get our signaling solution. We might advance that. We now pipe into Meta the new customers only as a signal, so it'll direct the algorithm to bid on just new. Even further, you could do bundles of products. So let's say you have a new summer collection out
Yeah.
and you want new people to buy it, you could just have a conversion event of new customers buying the summer collection because then it makes your job easier. You just create creative around the summer collection,
Mhm.
put it up in there, and then we signal whenever someone new buys one of those SKUs. So then Meta learns and will, really help work with you rather than against you by
Yeah.
spending your money on customers you already got. Or if you have new customers that bought one thing and they never bought the other product that was complementary that you feel they should have, you can get a very tight message and just target them. But then the extra piece is we signal the Meta when that is successful.
Huh.
And so then it will find that right fit of message market audience. So
Who's the most ideal marketer for this tool to get the most out of this
yeah,
tool?
ecom revenue 3 to 60 mil. That's our focus right now. That's who we build for
Yeah.
and optimize for. We have people much larger and we have people smaller
Yeah.
that have success, but that's a lot of the people. They full funnel marketers get usually more value because
Mhm.
of our top of the funnel tracking and optimization
Yeah.
strategies and technologies that we have.
Yeah. This is good. But anything else you want to tell, anyone who's listening about your platform, about your sort of methodology, or what would you leave them with?
I leave them with, Wicked reports. We're looking to help you measure correctly, and then signal the platforms accurately, and then act decisively with scale, chill, kill. So
Love it.
if that's sounds like something you'd be interested in, we got it.
That's great. Thanks for jumping on here live with me and doing this. It's been a great, very informative for me because I don't live in this world every day. But cool to see what you're working on, and best of luck with it.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for having me on.